Imagine a place, a single building that holds not just books, but the sum of all human knowledge, a place where every story ever told, every discovery ever made, every philosophical question ever asked, is gathered under one roof. This was not a fantasy. This place was real. It was known as the Great Library of Alexandria. It was more than a collection of scrolls. It was the intellectual heartbeat of the ancient world, a beacon of human genius that shone for centuries. And then, it was gone. This is not just the story of a building that burned. This is the story of a future we lost. The story of the greatest treasure humanity ever possessed, and how we allowed it to turn to ash. Part 1. The Dream of a Universal Mind. Our story begins with an ambition that bordered on madness. After the death of Alexander the Great, his general, Ptolemy I Soter, took control of Egypt. He wanted his new capital, Alexandria, to be the center of the world not just in power, but in culture and intellect. He, or perhaps his advisor Demetrius, conceived of a project that had never been attempted, a Mouchon, or Temple of the Muses. This would not just be a library, it would be the world's first true university. Scholars from across the known world, Greece, Persia, Babylon, India, were invited to live there, all expenses paid. Their only job? To think, to debate, to write, and to learn. The library's mission was simple and total: to collect all the knowledge in the world. This was not a polite request. Ptolemy's agents scoured the globe. Any ship that docked in Alexandria's harbor was seized. Its cargo was searched, and every scroll found was confiscated. The originals were taken to the library, copied, and a copy was returned to the owner. They called this the ship library. At its peak, it is believed the library held over 500,000 papyrus scrolls. But the scrolls were not the real treasure. The treasure was the minds that walked its halls. Part 2. The giants who walked the earth. For nearly 3 centuries, the Library of Alexandria was the brain of the planet. A man named Eratosthenes, the chief librarian, sat in its courtyard. He heard a rumor that in a town to the south, on the summer solstice, the sun shone directly down a well, casting no shadow. Using only this information, a few sticks, and the power of geometry, he calculated the circumference of the earth. His calculation was over 99% accurate. He did this in 240 BC. A scholar named Aristarchus of Samos studied the stars from the library's roof. He proposed that the Earth was not the center of the universe. He argued that the Earth, and all other planets, revolved around the Sunday. This was heliocentrism. That knowledge was recorded, filed away, and lost. It would not be proven again for over 1,700 years by a man named Copernicus. Euclid wrote his masterwork, Elements, within these walls, single-handedly inventing the geometry we still use today. Hero of Alexandria built the world's first steam engine. Callimachus, the father of library science, created the Pinakes, the first library catalog, a 120-volume index that organized the entire collection by topic and author. This was a place where giants walked. But what exactly did we lose when their world vanished? Part 3. The Lost Treasures. The scale of the loss is staggering. It is a void so large we can only see its edges. We lost the complete history of the world. We lost the Egyptiaca of Manetho, the definitive 30-volume history of the Egyptian pharaohs written by an Egyptian priest. All we have left are fragments, quoted by other authors. We lost an entire ocean of literature. The library held 123 plays by the great tragedian Sophocles. Today, only 7 survive. It's as if all we had left of Shakespeare was A Winter's Tale, and we only knew of Hamlet, Macbeth, and King Lear as forgotten titles on a lost list. We lost the full 10,000 lines of poetry by Sappho. Today, only 650 lines remain. We lost Aristotle's second book of Poetics, his entire volume on the nature of comedy. We lost the astronomical charts of Hipparchus, who mapped 850 stars and invented trigonometry. We lost scientific wonders and medical texts. We lost philosophies that questioned the nature of our reality. We lost the wisdom of civilizations that had already risen and fallen. We lost the instruction manual for the ancient world, written by the ancients themselves. Part 4. The Death by 1,000 Cuts. So, who is to blame? The popular story, the one we all know, is that it was one man and one fire. We are told that in 48 BC, Julius Caesar, trapped in the city during a civil war, set fire to the enemy's fleet. The fire, the story goes, spread from the docks and consumed the great library. This is a powerful, simple story, and it is almost certainly not the whole truth. Caesar's fire likely destroyed a warehouse near the docks that held scrolls for export, or perhaps a part of the main collection. But the library survived. Scholars were still working there decades, even centuries, later. The death of the library was not a single event. It was a slow, agonizing death by 1,000 cuts. It was not one culprit, but many. The first cut was neglect. As the Ptolemaic dynasty weakened, so did its patronage. Funding dried up. Political purges saw scholars expelled. The great mind was becoming sick. The second cut was war. In the 272 AD, the Emperor Aurelian, while recapturing the city, destroyed the entire district of Alexandria where the main library was located. This was likely the true, unceremonious death of the great Mausian. The brain was now silent. The final, fatal blow was zealotry. The library's knowledge lived on in a smaller, daughter library housed in the magnificent temple of Serapis. But in 391 AD, the Roman emperor issued a decree to destroy all pagan temples. A Christian mob, led by the patriarch Theophilus, descended on the Serapeum. They tore it to the ground, and with it, the last great repository of ancient wisdom. The final, tragic postscript came with the murder of Hypatia. She was the last great scholar of the library, a brilliant female mathematician and philosopher. In 415 AD, she was dragged from her chariot by another mob and brutally murdered. With her death, the light of Alexandria was extinguished for good. The famous story of the Caliph Omar burning the books to heat the city's baths in 640 AD? It's a myth, a piece of propaganda written 500 years after the fact. The truth is more tragic. There is no single villain to blame. The library wasn't destroyed by one man. It was destroyed by us, by our most human flaws, our negligence, our politics, our wars, and our intolerant belief that our own truth is the only one that matters. Part 5. The Echo of Ashes. The library is gone. We cannot get it back. We are left only with the what if. What if the world had known, for 1,700 years, that the Earth orbited the Sun? What if Hero's steam engine had been developed, not dismissed as a toy? What if the philosophies of those lost texts had guided us? Where would our civilization be now? The Library of Alexandria was not just a building. It was an idea. The idea that knowledge is universal, that it is fragile, and that it is worth protecting above all else. Today, we create more information in a single day than the entire ancient library held in its lifetime. We hold it in digital clouds, on servers that seem invisible and indestructible. But the ashes of Alexandria are a warning. Knowledge is never permanent. It is not owned. It is only stewarded. And just like the papyrus scrolls, our digital world is vulnerable to decay, to deletion, and to the same human intolerance that brought the Serapeum crashing down. The library is a ghost that haunts us. It reminds us that the fire of ignorance is always burning, and it is our duty, now and forever, to keep it at bay.